Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar that is on what is your Azure Solution Architect, right? So in this webinar, we will be getting familiar with the Azure Solution Architect. So first of all, let's just start with the brief introduction about the Infosectrain, right? So we established in 2016 and we are one of the very finest security and technology training and consulting company. We provide a wide range of professional training program, certification, and consulting service in IT and cybersecurity domain. And many of you will be familiar with us, and pretty sure that almost around 70% to 80% of the candidates who have joined, they are already being part of this Infosectrain family. And you will be knowing that our positive points, right? So we provide you high quality technical service, certification, or even customized training program as well, right? With the professional of more than 15 years of combined experience in the domains. Okay, so we are operating for more than 4 years now. We have 70 plus pool of trainers. We provide more than 150 plus courses for the training. And we have more than a lot of valuable partners, more than 100 plus corporate deliveries we have done, more than 50,000 plus professional trained. These are some of our trusted clients. And as we were saying that, we are having the pool of very certified and experienced instructors, flexible mode of the trainings, access to the recorded session, post-training completion as well, tailor-made trainings. Okay, we are partnered with a lot of different big certification providers as well. Right, so this is a bit about the Infosectrain. Now let's just start with my introduction as well. So hello everyone, this is Rishabh Kotial, and today I'm going to be the speaker in the what is your Azure Solution Architect. So if I just give you a very brief intro about myself, I'm not going to take a lot of time with the introduction itself. Okay, we'll be focusing more on your webinar part. So simply, if I will sum up my experience, you can say that I'm working in the domain of your security testing, Azure Architect and DevSecOps for more than 8 years now. Okay, and if you will look into my formal study, so I have done the bachelor's and the master's in the computer science engineering, and few certification that you can see over here. These are the only few of them. Okay, so from the EC Council, I have done the CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, ECIH, EC Council Certified Incident Handler, your CND, case.java, case.net, okay, and on the Azure itself, for your fundamental administrator, security engineer. I'm also an MCT, okay, which is not mentioned here. So Microsoft Certified Trainer. I'm also a Microsoft Certified Trainer. I'm also a CEI Certified EC Council Instructor as well. And on the CompTIA's end, I'm having your Security Plus. I'm having the CYSA Plus. I'm having your Pen Test Plus, Network Plus. Those are the few of the certification that I'm having. And today we are going to discuss about your Azure Solution Architect, right? So as you guys know, if we are talking about your Azure Solution Architect Expert, and this is your expert level certification that what we are talking about. Okay, we are not talking about your intermediate or either your fundamental level course. So there will be few prerequisites that what we will be hoping that that you guys must have done, right? So that's what we'll be seeing today. Okay, so first is what is the agenda of our webinar. So if you will look into the agenda here, so first is introduction of Azure Solution Architect Expert, how to achieve Azure Solution Architect Expert, right? This is just the basic introduction. We'll be talking about what is the way of the exam, how you can get the certificate. We will be seeing that introduction of Azure Architect Technology and Microsoft Azure Architect Design. So that is your certification, which is very commonly known as AZ-303 and AZ-304. So still, if you guys still stuck in the 300, okay, so you can call it the 300 series. This AZ-300 been updated, I think, now approximately 9 months ago, right? So now 300 has become your AZ-303 and 301 become your AZ-304. Okay, again, you will be going with the 300 or 300 and 1, these are actually retired and they are replaced by your 303 and 304. So today we are going to talk about and discuss about them as well, that what is 303 and what is 304. Then what skills you require if you want to achieve the Azure Solution Architect Expert certification. And then we'll be discussing about the exam details, where we'll be talking what is the fee of particular certification and all that kind of thing, right? So this is going to be the agenda and theme. So I'm just making clear in the starting of the webinar that what is going to be the theme of the today's webinar. Theme is that I'm just introducing you to the Azure Solution Expert certification. Okay, so Azure Architect Solution Architect Expert course, I'm just introducing you guys. I'm not taking you very much in depth of the technical and all those kind of things. And as you guys know, this is only 1 hour of your session, so we will be just getting you introduced, and you will try to assess yourself. Because I can't just go ahead and assess you guys that how much you are prepared for this. So I will be just explaining few points, and you will be assessing yourself that what knowledge you need to gather to achieve this particular solution expert certification, right? So we will be just starting with the bit of the background. And whenever I'm just saying the background, many of the candidates may be some movie buffs will be sitting here and thinking about the background music, right? So our background music, what they do, they generally make any scene more intense, right? They just make the feeling in the particular scene more hyper kind of thing. So same thing. So if you just want to go ahead and if you are matching this with the background music, so you can think like the that enhance that quality of that particular movie scene that is going on. So similarly, if you just want to understand what is your Azure Solution Architect, you need to require some background knowledge. So when we are talking about the bit of the background knowledge, we will be starting with your Azure. So Azure is your cloud service provider, and in short we call this the CSP, cloud service provider. And everyone will be aware that Azure is your Microsoft's product. Now Azure is one of your cloud service provider which is growing very, very fast and at a very good pace. So it is just behind in terms of the revenue, you can say, or in terms of the growth, you can say that it is just behind your AWS, which is pretty old and pretty popular as well. And Azure, it started way back around your October of 2008 as a Project Red Dog, right? So it started with that Project Red Dog, and after that they launched it around 2010 for the public use. Then in 2012 and 14 it go over a lot of changes, and first time when I saw this Azure, it was in the around 2016, and at that time it was not that much developed. Services, the features that it was providing, that was on the very, very minimal level. I can I easily say that. Now from that particular date to this particular date, Azure has developed itself as the one of the very good cloud service provider. So Azure provide you the most services. Okay, so it provide you the most services in your cloud domain. With that, Azure is having the region. In terms of the region, Azure is the one of the cloud service provider which provides services in the more region than anyone else here, right? And this is product of the Microsoft. So what we can just say that this particular one, the Azure, when we are talking about the Azure, it is one of the fastest growing, and in few words, because we are familiar with the Microsoft technology that much, that many of the organizations, they are moving towards the cloud, right? So in the last few years, we have seen that almost all the big organizations, they are shifting towards your cloud service providing, and many of your Fortune 500 companies, they are moving towards the Azure. And there are few reasons behind it. Like most of the guys, they are familiar with the Microsoft technology, right? So it is familiar territory for them. They are familiar with the product services. They provide a lot of different services. It is much easy for you to migrate. And another reason is you already purchases the license, okay, for the SQL Server, for the Visual Studio, and all that kind of thing. So you have purchased already those licenses, and when you have those kind of licenses for yourself, okay, so you will be wanting to use them, and Azure provide you very good offers on those service. Okay, you are having the license and all those kind of things. So that is your bit of Azure. Now, before we jump into the Azure solution expert, thing is, you guys should be aware about the Azure fundamentals, right? So this is a very fundamental level. Okay, then there is your Azure administrator course, right? Azure admin, and then there is your Azure security engineer. So fundamental is your basic, which is 900, AZ-900. Admin is your AZ-104, and Azure security is your AZ-500, right? So if you have the bit of the knowledge regarding these three, so it will be much easy for you to jump to the Azure solution architect, right? Now, apart from this particular combination here, admin and the security, these are the intermediate certification. Okay, now after this we will be jumping towards your from the intermediate to the expert level of course. So let's just see. So let's just start with the introduction of your Azure solution architect expert. Now, if I simply ask, and who is a cloud architect? So when I'm talking about the cloud architect, so this cloud architect is going to be responsible for understanding the customer's need, right? Understanding what is the requirement of your customer, understanding that what is their final requirement, right? Then he will be or she will be leading a team of developers, testers, database, and other personnel to build a complete solution, right? And with that, building the complete solution, what else they will be doing? They will be finalizing and allocating the cloud resources, and they will be doing the testing, deploying those solutions onto the cloud. So a complete solution from understanding the customer need to your deploy the resources, a solution, deploy the complete solution on the cloud. That will be the work of your cloud architect, right? He will be sitting with the end customer, okay, with the internal decision makers, project owners. He will be sitting with the project manager and understanding the requirement, and then he will be clearly defining the a detailed functional requirement. He will be defining that what needed to be done, what are the solution, and what are the functionality that my customer want, and deliver those kind of blueprint to your technical team, and then they will be developing from there. And cloud architect is also going to work with your customer to test the application, get their feedback, fixing the problems, right? And working with the deployment of the engineer to get project up and running. So cloud architect's work is going to be completely, covering from the very basic, say with the sitting with your particular customer, understanding his need, what is your business need, mapping those things out, what will be the solution, finding out the solution, and then deploying it so that you can just get the complete solution. So he will be understanding the requirement and making them functional as well. And now, this is one of the most high paying job as well, right? You will be getting a good amount of the salary of the Azure architects or the cloud architects are actually very good as well. So we'll be talking about that as well. I'll be showing you the graph regarding that, right? So first is understanding who will be your cloud architect. Then we are going for the Azure Solution Architect Expert certification, very specifically, right? So if you want to achieve this Azure Solution Architect Expert certification, right, you should be having a very good subject matter expertise in the designing and implementing the solution, okay, that is going to run on your Azure. Like, you should be knowing how to deploy a compute resource, a network resource, storage resource, and how to implement security as well. Now, with that, as an architect, you should be understanding complete SDLC, software development life cycle, right? You should be understanding team roles and management, and you should be understanding the technical implementation as well. Okay, so it will be very helpful if you are familiar with the development or the DevSecOps processes. So if you are familiar with the DevSecOps, you are part of a DevSecOps teams. So easily you will be understanding, or you can just use that knowledge to build upon the knowledge on that basic, and gather the knowledge and get your solution architect expert certification. Right? There is some responsibility that you have to take. If you are deploying a solution, that solution need to be secure, that need to be scalable, and that need to be reliable as well. Right? So those are the few things. With that, if you are a Azure solution architect, right, you should be familiar with the cloud administration, with the cloud database administration, and implementing the solutions as well. Now, when you are working in this one, so few things will be required, like you should be understanding what is a virtualization, identity, security, business continuity, disaster recovery, data platform. Like even you should be having a sense of budgeting as well. Budgeting is also bit of the important part, which generally people they miss, because why we are moving to the cloud? What is our reason to move to the cloud? Our reason simply is that we want to save some money for our organization. So budgeting should be in your mind. With that, compliance and governance, those are also the important factor and features in your cloud. So you should be able to implement those as well. Okay. So you should be having the skills in the Azure administration, and you should have experience with the Azure development and the DevOps process. These are the few things which is very important. Even when we start with the course, okay, there is the introduction slide, and it always mentioned that you should be having at least 12 months of the hands-on experience with the Azure. Okay, that is kind of mandatory, so that you don't fumble at any point, because this is the expert level course. It is not going to talk about the very basic skills, right? Even at least you should be having, in my opinion, more than 5 years of experience either into the development part or the processing part. That would be much better for you to understand the things. Now, role again. Roles will be talking about the same thing, that architect translate business requirement into secure, reliable recommendation for infrastructure, governance, high availability, cost optimization, and integration. And the skills will be requiring logging, multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, okay, hybrid identity, backup, recovery, container, microservices, right, automation, networking. So these kind of the skills will be required with your Azure Architect, right? You should be able to create the your queries. You should be able to create the queries. That what are the queries? Okay, automate the things, automate the scalability, and all those kind of things. And then there will be some prerequisite which will be simply saying that you should be having the understanding of the VM, virtual machines, virtual networking, virtual hard disk. Okay, you should have the understanding of what is TCP/IP, DNS domain name system, VPN, firewall, encryption technologies. You should be familiar with the AD concept, Active Directory concepts, right? Identities. You should be familiar with the domain. What is a domain? Forest, domain controller, Kerberos protocol, those kind of things. Then you should be understanding the few things, like if there is a disaster, your site is not available, how you can perform the disaster recovery, right? Restoring the backups, all those kind of skills are also required. So as you will be seeing, your skills require everything from the very basic to the expert level of things, right? Backing up the thing, taking the backups, and all those kind of things. Now, how to achieve this particular certificate? So I got this question a lot, like Rishabh, how we can become a Azure solution architect, right? So we want to pursue this one, and as soon as candidates they are finishing their AZ-104, 500, they are very eager to jump into this, right? So in my opinion, yes, if you have the familiarity with the compute, network, storage, security, those kind of the services from the Microsoft Azure, you can surely go ahead. But few things you should be practicing first. Okay, you should be having bit of the option or experience in the DevOps as well, right? It will be helping you out. Few things like working with the APIs as well, that how APIs are working, and assigning your DNS and all those kind of things, right? Those will be always helping you out. Okay, you don't have to worry about these things. If you have those kind of experience, it is always going to help you. Never, you don't have to worry about anything. So if you have the basic, with that if you are having the bit of the experience in the DevSecOps, DevOps, that is always a help. Now, to achieve this certificate, actually you have to give 2 exams. Okay, these are the 2 exams, and you can read it here as well, that AZ-303 Microsoft Azure Architect Technologies certification combined with the AZ-304 Microsoft Azure Architect Design certification result in the Microsoft Certified Azure Solution Architect Expert. So you have to actually complete 2 exams. First, you can choose in any sequence. There is no mandatory sequence in both the exam. If you want, you can take Azure 304 first. And if you want, you can take the Azure 303 first. So this is your 303 Azure, Microsoft Azure Architect Technology, and Microsoft Azure Architect Design is your 304. So you have to clear 303 plus 304, then you will be getting the certification of the Azure Solution Architect Expert. Okay, and this is one of the very confusing part. As I was saying in the very beginning as well, the candidate, they asked me that they want to do the 300, right? So 300 is now updated, it's become 303, 301 become your 304. When you clear both the exam, then only you will be getting the Azure Solution Architect Expert here. Now, what is the very basic difference between the Azure 303 and Azure 304, right? So this difference is simply divided between design versus implementation. Okay, so very basic example I want to give here, like we call, you want to create a building, right? You want to create a structure, you will be calling an architect. So what that architect will be doing, right? He will be drawing a map, right? This should be the structure, where should be the rooms, where should be the different things, how we are going to implement the solution. So he will be giving you the complete blueprint, right? Complete blueprint. Now, once you have that particular blueprint, the person, they will be coming and they will be deploying that solution, that how to create this thing, that physically implementing that plan. That is going to be the difference between this. So design versus the implementation. So when I'm talking about the design, the candidate who will be having the 304, what he can do, he can design the architectural blueprint. He can identify the solution. So as a 304, you will be developing a skill for yourself where you will be finding the solution. How you can, you will be looking to the challenge that if you want to deploy an application where you need to, let's just say, deploy a ASP.NET application, and then database in the background is going to be your Azure SQL. So data, you will be just, saying that the data from this particular application, how we are going to store it on your SQL, how we will be launching the virtual network there, what will be our networking architecture, how we are going to implement the APIs, all that collectively is going to be your, you will be taking that as a challenge. Now you will be identifying what you need to do. So you will be providing a solution, you will be providing a design, that this should be the design. Now, the candidate who will be having the AZ-303 certificate is going to go ahead and implement that particular plan. He is going to implement he is going to building the project over there. Now, the designer, okay, so we are directly calling 304 the designer, okay. So the designer will be focusing on gathering the business need, right? What will be the constraint, how the solution is going to be deployed, and all that kind of thing. And then the implementer will come. He is going or she is going to take those solutions and ensure that how to implement those plans very properly. So this is the difference between the 303 and 304. That 303 is the implementer and 304 is your designer. That's the very basic difference. Now, if you will be looking into your AZ-303 certification here, so there are your 4 domains. First is, and if you will notice, when we are talking 303, it is just talking about implementing the thing, right? Implement, only implement. Now, implement and monitor Azure infrastructure. Implement and manage security solution. And this is the weightage. So guys, for the exam purpose, this is important. So implementing and monitoring the Azure infrastructure, it is going to have the weightage of your 50 to 55%. Then implementing management and security solution, 20 to 30%. Implement solution for applications, that is having your 10 to 15%. Implement and manage data platform, that is again having 10 to 15%. So this is for the your exam weightage that what we are seeing here. Now these are going to be the course line, and you will read again here that mostly they are dealing with the implement. How to implement AD, Active Directories, managing the hybrid identities, deploying the Windows or Linux based machines, deploying the Azure SQL database, okay, deploying the different containers, storage, load balancing service, VPN, your application infrastructure, all this thing. So these are going to be the different modules. So 15 modules we are having in the AZ-303, right? And what will be the learning path? We will be discussing that as well, okay, in the upcoming slides. So don't worry, right? Now let's just take a look into your designer part. Designer means finding a solution, understanding what your particular client he want, right? What he want to implement, what is the challenge that particular client is facing. So in there, we are going to have the 5 domains: design monitoring, 10 to 15% of weightage; identity and security, 25 to 30% of weightage; data storage, 15 to 20% weightage; design business continuity, 10 to 15%; and infrastructure again is having dominating with the identity and security here, right? So these are the few things that are going to be there in the certification part. Now again, course line around 14 modules we are having. So we will be seeing what is going to be the combined solution or the learning path, right? Now, because there are two things. One, candidate either they just want the certificate, they are not worried that what they are going to learn or something, right? They are just want to go ahead and mug these things up and try to clear the exam. And second is learn by doing the practice, right? And for that you require few skills. So what skills you require to clear the Azure Solution Architect exam? And here we will be talking about what is going to be your learning path to become your Azure Solution Architect expert. Okay, so here we will be talking all those lessons that we were saying. So rather than dividing this like 303 first and then 304, right? So we will be just talking how you can gather these skills. So when I'm talking about this, I have designed this path keeping this one thing in mind, that candidate they want to actually gather this knowledge, right? They just want. So once you will be gathering this knowledge, you are just not running after the certification. You just want these skills with you. You will be automatically clearing the exam as well. Okay, that is something that you have to keep in mind. So I will be just telling you that how to follow this thing, right? What will be the challenges? We'll be starting with like networking, then moving to the storage, how you should be preparing for this particular solution architect expert exam. And again, as I was saying, that candidate they do ask that with which exam I should go first. So if you will ask me, I am always going to suggest that go with the 303 first. Why? Because this will be more on the implement side. Means you have to do a lot of hands-on learning. Okay, and when you will be doing the hands-on learning, you will be doing the practicals. It will be again, you will be getting more challenges. You will be stuck at some point. You will be learning new things. When you will be learning new things, it will make sure that you can easily pass the exam as well, right? So always you can go with the 303, right? And now this learning path, we will be discussing about your very simple things, how you should be moving forward. And one of the very good thing about the solution architect expert, when you are approaching for this particular certification, you should be focusing on each and every small details, like even a simple nomenclature, right? In the chemistry, we used to learn the things like, giving the name to your different, nomenclature thing, that how this bond will be nicknamed and all that kind of thing. So same here, how this resource will be named, so that there is no confusion. Even handling and lot of resources is easy. Simple things like logs, we have the logs, we have the tags, right? Even the names of the VM. These small things, they do make a lot of changes, right? So if you want to just observe something, you don't want anyone to change the state of the machines or service, you can use the logs, right? Tags will be helping you to out to short the things, right? And naming nomenclature, it always helps you to refine or make sure that your solution, that complete Azure architecture, it doesn't look having the random name, like someone is giving the machine name VM1, someone is giving their name to the particular machine. So nomenclature is also a very important part when you look from that point perspective, and you should be focusing on that as well, that how the nomenclature should go, how you will be giving the name to any resource and all that kind of thing, using the resource manager, resource group, all those kind of things, right? So we will be starting with your architect network infrastructure in Azure. So very first thing is we will be thinking, or we will be designing the network infrastructure. So here you will be starting with the, like, if you have to connect your on-premise to the Azure, right? So how to deploy a VPN, site-to-site VPN. Even you can deploy the point-to-site VPN as well if you want. Okay, so that particular requirement, that if you need to connect your on-premise to your Azure cloud solution. Not only that, now VPN is not the only one solution. If you have good budget, you can recommend them to go with the Azure Express route as well. This is a bit costly service, but this is going to take all of your traffic through the Azure's private network, okay, which is Azure Microsoft Global Network. So you can, if you have the 365 service and any other Microsoft service, you can access it via your Azure Express network. Okay, not only those things, how to use the network security group to just give the access to the network, okay, and deploy and defining the service endpoints. That is also the one of the important aspect of your network infrastructure here. So you have to define the complete network infrastructure, what challenges you will be facing, and all those kind of things. Now you will be distributing service and resources with the different your virtual network, and then enabling the virtual network peering between them. That is also the important part. Not only that, but what else will be requiring? You will be using the Azure Traffic Manager, and use of the Azure Traffic Manager is kind of very important. Now this Azure Traffic Manager, it provides you DNS load balancing, okay, of your application. So it is going to improve your distribution of the application around the world. So that means the different users from around the globe, when they try to access your particular application, they will be feeling that, and they will be having lesser latency, right? They don't have to wait a longer time to that your application is loading and all those kind of things. Dealing with the latency issues, all that will be handled with your Azure Traffic Manager. Not only that, if you want to just some of the scalability and resilience, you can use the load balancer. You have option of the load balancer when you are going to require the load balancer. That also you have to identify. Now this will be on your layer 4 of your OSI. Now on the layer 7, if you want to do the load balancing for the web service, web traffic, web service traffic, you can use the application gateway as well. Identify that where you require those things. Okay. Not only that, if you have the NVAs, right, you have the virtual appliances, you need to deploy the let's just say Azure Firewall. So where you require the Azure Firewall, how you will be launching them. Okay, if you are requiring the jump servers, and using the user-defined routes, right? So dealing with the route, user-defined routes, how to route the traffic from another network, okay, through which particular network virtual appliances you want your traffic to go through. So all that you will be designing with your routes. You can do that as well when you are creating the infrastructure or network infrastructure. You are trying to understand that what is going on, how these things, you have to define the network as well. With that, IP addressing schema is one of the important things. Let's just say that when you are doing the IP addressing schema, in the IP addressing schema, you want to do the simple network VNet peering. Now for the VNet peering, you should be careful while you are just defining particular IP addressing, right? Why? Because you have to make sure that there is no overlapping of the addresses. So you have to carefully design the IP addressing as well. Not only that, if you are going to use the hybrid network, so for the hybrid network as well, you need to identify your needs. You need to connect your traditional on-premise infrastructure to the Azure. How you can do that? What will be the best connectivity method for us on the basis of the cost, which will be costing us less? on the basis of security and all those kind of things. You have to keep that in mind as well. Then we have the hub and spoke, architecture. So do we require the hub and spoke architecture? If yes, most cases, it will be a yes. So how we are going to achieve that? Not only that, you need to monitor and troubleshoot our network, end-to-end problem of the network infrastructure. And one of the very common tool which we use is your network watcher, right? So we are having this network watcher tool, and what this tool will do, it will help you to troubleshoot the thing. It will help you if there is any issues, letting you know that in your network infrastructure these are the kind of problems. So network is the base of all your resources and all these kind of things. Now, apart from that, once you have defined your network, storage is the another aspect which is, I would say, pretty important, right? So first is, we will try to understand that what are the storage approach in our Azure. Like, they provide SQL database, Cosmos DB, they provide you the Azure storage option. So what is going to be the best for us? Now, setting up a storage account, I think that is a very easy part, setting up a storage account. And your storage account provide you a lot of another features as well, like file share. It provide you your queues, table, okay, containers. So that how you can use them, that is going to be the one thing. Then another thing is how you are going to upload, download, and manage the data with the Azure Storage Explorer, right? So using the Azure Storage Explorer, you should be aware about that. That is a kind of the application that you will be installing in your machine and connecting with your storage account. Okay. With that, connecting any app with the Azure storage. So if your requirement is, let's just say that your app want to access some blob, right? Binary level object, right? Blob from the container. So how you are going to connect an app to the storage? With that, we are storing a lot of data in the storage, right? So how you will be making sure that it is highly available, right? And there are a lot of availability option. One of them is your read access, geo redundant storage. So either you are requiring this, and because this is going to be costly one as well, so you can choose other options are also there. Geo redundant, your locally redundant, you can go with the zone redundant, so those kind of things. Now, securing the storage account is also important one. How someone can access, use of access keys, right? So we have the shared access key. How to use the shared access key to generate the different strings that you can use in your application. How to connect that, all that thing is also one of the important part there. Securely connecting your app to the storage account. Then storing your files into the store and share the files using the Azure files. So there is a feature in the Azure storage which let you do the file synchronization or file share as well. Like we have the file share servers in our organization where we use either the NFS, network file share protocol, or Samba, right? Samba services for the file sharing. As this is the product of the Microsoft, it is going to use the Samba protocol for file sharing. So we will be choosing that what are our requirements, do we require to sync our on-premise file share server with your cloud? If yes, how we are going to do that, right? Then we will be talking about the monitoring, diagnose, and troubleshoot our Azure storage. So if there is any issues with my storage account, we need to be able to detect that where is the problem, right? We will be using either you can use the storage metrics or metric data. Even there is the option of the storage logging as well. So check the logs, find out where the problem is, and then moving on and removing those problems, okay, troubleshooting them, and then moving forward with your storage account. Okay. Now after storage, we understand the networking part. We understand the storage. Now there comes your compute resource. Okay, like the VM. You have the web application, the container, the Kubernetes, right? So first is we will be exploring that what are the services. Okay, as I was talking about that there is going to be the VM, there is going to be web app. What are those things? Then when we are starting with your creation of the VMs, so how you can completely manage a VM with the help of Azure CLI, command line interface. Many of you people will be loving to use the CMD prompt or love to use your CMD, your bash, bash screen or bash shell. So that you are just comfortable with the typing the codes, typing the commands, right? So how you can manage the complete VM with the CLI. Not only that, you will be choose a compute provision solution for your application. Which solution will be perfect for your computing processes, right? So let's just say that do you require a third-party solution or any native Azure solution? What you require, that is also going to be a very important part. Now, building your ARM template, Azure Resource Manager template. So if anyone who is familiar with the JSON, JavaScript object notation, so what you can do, you can always create a JSON template to launch your any resource. Not only this, any resource, any policies, okay, resource, policy, you want to deploy any of the others, policies, rule, all of them are your JSON files. So if you just want to launch those JSON files, use those templates to launch a VM, launch a storage account, you can use them as well. Now, if you want to create some, you will be finding that, do I require the VHD, right? Your virtual hard disk. So if yes, so how to launch the VHD? Then, if you want to create a scalable compute reset, so let's just say that there was a lot of traffic towards your one resource. So that is creating a lot of load on this resource. So you will be requiring it to scale up or scale down. So you can do that in the VM with the help of virtual machine scale set, right? Not only this, the very important part will be choosing which Azure service is best to automate your process, right? Choosing that is also important. And these last two is very important when you have a high performance computing, challenging you have to deploy the high performance computing, right? You have to run the multiple parallel tasks. So for that, we have the Azure Batch. Now, when we are talking about the Azure Batch service, you want to run a lot of parallel tasks in the Azure Batch. Let's just say, you are working some tasks which require a lot of process to run parallelly on multiple machines. So you can use the Azure Batch service. You can use the high performance computing on the Azure itself, do the such kind of high performance tasks, right? So there are a lot of options that is available for use for such kind of things. So you have to identify the requirement, and you should be able to deploy these things as well. How to deploy these things? You should be familiar with that as well. So that is your architect compute infrastructure. Now, next thing that you need to architect is your infrastructure operation in the Azure. So when we are talking about the infrastructure, so first thing is controlling the organization with the Azure resource and the Azure resource manager. Now, when we are talking about these things, so what I am talking about, role-based access control, RBAC. We are talking about the RBAC here, right? So how you are going to control that? If there is a VM, who can start this VM, who can stop this VM, who can delete this VM? So that kind of thing we should be talking about, right? With that, building a cloud governance strategy for our resources. Like I was talking about the logs. I was talking about the, what are the logs. I was talking about your tags, how these things will be helping you, the policies, building the policies and all those kind of things, right? Now, there will be your design a holistic monitoring strategy. That means we will be talking about here like your Azure Monitor application insight, giving you the insight of your application, right? Using the Azure Monitor insight, using Azure Security Center, using the Azure Sentinel to analyze that what is going on, what kind of logs you are collecting, what is going on with your solution. So for that, you can deploy this strategy, and you can improve your incident response with the alert that if there is a critical task running and someone stop a VM, you want yourself to be alerted. So creation of the alerts, that is also important, right? So your task is not ending where you find out that how you need to deploy your storage or network or in compute. You have to think about these things as well. Collecting the logs, right? Deploying the logs. So that all is the part of your infrastructure operation. Collecting the log, what is going on, how things are going on. So that will be the part that you will be doing. Okay, so data platforms are also important. You need to understand that what kind of data platform you will be requiring, and you should be knowing that how to implement it. What is your requirement? Do you want to run with the SQL Server? If yes, that first thing you should be aware about the what are the different services like Cosmos DB you require Postgres SQL you require NoSQL you require your Azure SQL. What is your requirement? Then there is a lot of option with the SQL. Okay, you can connect your SQL database to an app, right? You can just connect a SQL database to your particular compute resource and all that kind of thing. Now, if you require the scalability, you can use the SQL Elastic Pool. You have to keep in mind, you have to bring down the cost, you have to increase the scalability, reliability, and availability over there. Now, if you already have some SQL database, you can migrate its data, okay, from your on-premise to your cloud as well. So with that, apart from that, as I was saying, that you can connect ASP.NET application to the SQL database and query it, right? If you think that you are working with the Cosmos DB, so one of the best place or example that I can give where you can use the Cosmos DB when you have a data which is very frequently being accessed from the people around the world. One of the better example for this one is like we are having the online game, right? So a lot of people, they will be accessing that kind of database from around the globe. So it is frequently changing and all those kind of things. So how you will be distributing your data globally with the Azure Cosmos DB, okay? Now how to create it, how to distribute it, how to do the query with the Cosmos database. And if you are working with the big data, there is solution for them as well, like Azure Synapse service. Okay, with this Synapse, there is your Azure HD Insight as well, right? So here we'll be talking about the Azure Synapses, that designing a data warehouse with your Azure Synapses. Then you can create the queries, run these things, and even you can use the Polybase as well. So to do the ETL, Polybase will be helping you to do the ETL, extraction, transformation, and load, right? So if you are working with the big data, you have the challenge of your big data, or you have to go with the data warehousing. So all kind of the data platform solution are available. You need to identify and deploy those solutions. Now, with that, there will be a lot of serverless application nowadays. Like people, they are using the serverless application. Like one of the very common is Azure Function in Azure, right? Or using the Logic app. Okay, so how to create those serverless, logics, okay, all those kind of things, how to run the function app and all those kind of things. Now, how to route and process the data there means we will be talking about the built-in triggers, which these serverless applications of serverless services, what they generally do, they got triggered by a particular data, right, or by particular action or by condition, right? So when they will be triggering, how they will be reacting, that kind of thing you will be dealing here. Now you will be choosing a messaging model. They will be these functions, and they will be exchanging data with each other, and Azure Query Storage is one of the best place. So one function is passing a message to the another function, so they will be storing that message onto your Azure queue, right? And then function 2 is reading from there. So this is a complete flow that will be there. So how they will be exchanging the messages between them, that you will be finding that you require the event hub, you require the event grid. What is your requirement, and give a solution according to that. You need to be sometimes required to do the publish subscribe thing. You can be doing those kind of things. Even you can use one of the service, which is your Azure service, right? So using the Azure service bus is one of the things. Like you can write a C# code in a custom application that is going to send and receive a message using the Azure service bus. Now, even with that, we can have if there is any state change in our Azure service, based on that, if you want to react, you want to trigger. So how you will be doing that? You have you can use the event grid. So if there is a requirement of event grid, you will be finding and deploying it. Then there is going to be creating Azure Relay hybrid connection. So let's just say that you are having some apps and service running on your on-prem, and you don't want to change a lot of rules on the firewall. You don't want to open a lot of ports in there. So it will be securely exposing that application to your Azure cloud solution. So how to use the Azure Relay? Is this a requirement? If yes, how you will be dealing with that? That is going to be your one of the things that you need to identify and implement. Then there is going to be your modern application used in the Azure. Like, I will directly taking you to this place that how you will be working with the partial data in Azure Cache for the Redis, right? So if you have a bit of the experience with the Redis, so you can go ahead and how to implement that, right? If your client is requiring that very specifically, how to do that, that will be something that you will be first identifying that requirement and implementing them. Okay, building the web app with the Dockers, using the container registry, okay, using the container instance, Azure Web App Services, using the Kubernetes. So that is also the requirement. Do we require these things? Do you require to launch a container? Do you require to launch a Kubernetes? So that is something that you should be aware. Then in the end, there is going to be your API integration, which is nowadays very important. So we have the API management, Azure API management. So we will be publishing and managing our APIs to the Azure API management. We will be enforcing some policies that who can use these API, right? And we will be providing or presenting a professional front end to developer using the API, right? Because API is kind of the very important in the present applications and all those kind of things. So we'll be talking about them. Now you have to, with the help of the Azure API management, we will be configuring the policies. We will be, adding some modules in our APIs, right, to change their behavior, like transforming the documents and values, calling the webhooks. If you want to call some of the webhook, you can do that as well. Okay, this generally we will be using for the auditing purpose or either for the notification purpose, right? And if there is a failure, so you can retry the request, right? So what we'll be doing, we will be enabling the caching in order to improve our API management overall, right? With that, we need to protect our APIs as well. And that also can be done by the Azure API management. So what we want, we doesn't want that our, backend API, do a lot of information exposure, right? Even to prevent it from the exhaustion, we can enable the throttling, right? So all that kind of thing, how you can do that, that is also an important part. With that, authentication, control authentication and authentication for your API and Azure API management. So discover how to protect your API from unauthorized use. So you can use the API keys, client certificate for the authentications. That is going to be the another part that you will be requiring. And this is actually coming to a full circle. So you started with a network, functions, container, and now combining all those multiple Azure function app into unified interface. You will be doing that, unified interface. Combining them into the unified interface by importing them into a single Azure API management instance. So that's what you will be doing there. Then in the end, the last thing is going to be your, handling the migration, making sure that business continuity, making sure that, if there is a disaster, you are just recovering that. There is a BCP in the picture, right? Business continuity plan is in the picture. So if anything goes sideways, so what you can do, you can always have some backup plan. So it will be all talking about the site recovery, backup of the database, going with the skill set, okay, going with the auto scaling and all that kind of thing, right? Having a backup policy in place, having a backup, retention, disaster recovery plan in place. Okay, so all that is going to be something that is the part of your continuity, right? Architect, as an architect, you have to think about these things as well. How to migrate? There are going to be the features like your Azure migrate, Azure database migration service. Just use them. Migrate to your cloud, right? Plan how you are going to just convert or just migrate to the cloud. So plan those kind of things. Protect your on-premise infrastructure with the help of Azure Site Recovery. create a backup plan, create a disaster recovery plan, start failover, you can have the failovers, rollback, those kind of things. So you can just deploy. You can take advantage of the Azure to have backup in the cloud, right? So of your in your on-premise, lot of resources, application are running. You can take the backup in the cloud, right? So these are the few things from your Azure solution expert. You need to think about all things: network, storage, APIs, application. Then think about the governance, policies, thinking about the migration, how you are ensure the business continuity, how you are going to handle any disasters. So all that is going to be part of your Azure solution architect. Right now, let's just quickly take a look into the what will be the exam. Okay, so in the exam, you are going to the name of the exam is going to be exam AZ-303, which is Microsoft Azure Architect Technology. Okay, so by mistake I have written 304 here. It is going to be 303. Cost of the exam is going to be $165. Number of questions you can expect 40 to 60. There will be multiple choice question. There will be your drag and drop, match the following case scenarios. All that kind of things is going to be there. And the time for the exam is going to be your 150 minutes. Then same goes for your AZ-304 as well. So again, same cost. It is going to be the 150 minutes. Okay, for the AZ-304 as well. So if I just show you one thing before we go to the any questions and all those kind of things. This is going to be your AZ-303, right? And there is going to be this is going to be 304. So if you will be just opening these skill major part on both the exams, so you will be seeing the same thing: implementing the cloud infrastructure, monitoring security, performance. Okay, select the storage account, implement the storage account, implement the VM Windows or the Linux, automate the deployment, right? Implement the virtual networking, ADs, right? Implement the hybrid identities. Okay, talking about the workload, talking about the backup, disaster recovery, firewall manager, front door services, right? These kind of things are again over there, right? And in the 304, again, if you will check this skill, you will be seeing just the design part. Design this means recommend. It will keep talking about the recommending the thing. Recommend a solution for SSO. Recommend a solution for their authentication. So it will keep talking about the same thing. Recommend a strategy for the tagging. Recommend a solution for the Azure resource graph. So that means AZ-304 is about giving the solution, right? Recommending something that I'm recommending this thing. I'm recommending this thing. Finding solution. Understanding what your client he wants, and your AZ-103 303 is your implementing those solutions. Okay, going on to the field, getting your hands dirty, right? Launching those solutions. Make sure the plan which is made by the 304 is actually can be implemented by you. So this is just the introduction that what is your Azure solution architect, right? So we have talked about the complete learning path and all these things. So I think you guys have a better idea that how much you know about the Azure and what you need to prepare for yourself, right? So this is just a very basic thing that what we have discussed here, that how to achieve the Azure Solution Architect Expert certification. Thank you everyone for joining this session, right? And you guys can always contact us on these particular numbers.